Becca.
This is Cole.
And we're going to do a 10-minute, we're going to test ourselves and do a 10-minute philosophy chat. Both of us likes to talk. So we're going to do a philosophy talk on the Yamas.
The Yamas. Okay, so if you haven't heard of the Yamas are basically the way that we show ourselves to the world, like how we communicate with those around us. So it's kind of principles, if you look at it into yogic philosophy, of how to deal with people around you, how to communicate with them. So we're going to try to take down these 5 principles with only 2 minutes apiece.
2 minutes apiece. So I'm going to time us to keep us on point. I know you all know I can ramble.
This is going to be interesting.
But
We've never done this in 10 minutes.
Through it. So bear with us. But we're just going to touch on things and see if we can give you a brief idea about the Yamas. Are you ready?
Ready.
I'm nervous. Okay. Number 1, Ahimsa, non-harming.
Ahimsa, non-harming. Okay, so when we talk about the Yamas, we talk about the best way that we can do things to show up, how we can show up. So Ahimsa is non-harming.
You can look at it also as compassion.
Mm-hmm. And it generally is the way we don't want to be harming to those externally to us. So also we want to be kind to ourselves, but it's the first branch of yoga and it's how we treat others. So it's about being non-hurtful to our environment, to the people around us, and then lastly towards ourselves.
So one thing that I think about also is when we think about non-harming or non-violence, we're like, okay, that's easy. You know, I'm not going to punch people or something like that. But there's microaggressions. And it's like, how am I harming in terms of not being completely transparent with you? Or how am I harming our relationship by not telling you what my needs are?
By being passive-aggressive.
Passive-aggressive.
Or not communicating clearly, or nonviolent communication as well. Yeah.
Harming in terms of our diet, of littering. And maybe it's not like a littering, but maybe it's like an overusage. Or there's microaggressions is what I'm getting at. Because I think that non-harming, when we think about that, it's like, oh, non-violence, okay, next.
Yeah.
But really, there's so many different ways that we do this, and so we need to kind of break it down and look a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and sometimes it's easy to think, oh, you know, I recycle and I'm a vegetarian, but if you're driving your car every day, you're flying around the world, if you are being passive-aggressive with all your coworkers, you could be living a very violent way and not even knowing it. So you might think that you're very kind and you make all the right decisions and you do the right things, but if you look at on the grander scale of how you're kind of encroaching on the environment around you, you very well could be ahimsa. You could be harming. Yeah.
Okay, how are we doing? Okay.
Oh, 2 minutes.
Perfect.
All right. So next, Satya.
Satya. So we also have to think that these kind of umbrella underneath each other. So Satya means truthfulness. So non-lying, but we have to think about truthfulness in terms of it coming under compassion. So compassionate truthfulness is kind of a way to look at it, which changes it a little bit.
Yeah, and truthfulness, again, it's being transparent. It's being honest in all areas. And you can look at, I like to think of the 4 gates of speech here. So whenever we look at truthfulness, thinking, is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it truthful, like objectively truthful? And is it the right time? So when it comes to truthfulness, there are ways that we can deliver our truth in a kind and appropriate manner. We don't need to tell everybody exactly how we feel or what our opinions are. Sometimes
that wouldn't be compassionate.
That wouldn't be compassionate. So we want to find the right way to do it in the right time, and also see if it's if there's any hidden subjective truths to it. So if it's something that's just true to us and that we feel that we're projecting, then maybe we take a step back and see what the objective truth is.
And truthfulness as well. Truthfulness is actually quite hard because in our culture, we suppress the way that we feel often. We don't often say our needs. Sometimes we don't know our needs. So that's also a truthfulness to ourselves, like being in denial. I know I lived a lot of my life in denial with my addiction. And being honest, having to break it down and being honest to myself, like, oh, whoa, I'm being incredibly violent to myself. And being able to digest that was really, really hard. And that truth was very challenging.
Well, and Satya, if you think about it, has a close relationship with Ahimsa. You know, generally when we talk about the Yamas, it's more about how we deal with the external environment, but we do want to reflect back how we treat ourselves. And if we're not truthful to ourselves, then we end up harming ourselves. So the two work together. So if we can't be truthful, we also can't be non-harmful because we're still not telling ourselves the whole objective truth. Yeah.
Beep.
Beep. So that was Satya, truthfulness. All right, Asteya, non-stealing.
Non-stealing. One way that I look at this is I think about stealing time. Of course, not stealing from things, but the one way that I look at it is, well, I just repeated myself, stealing time. Like, for example, I only have 2 minutes and I just stole some time by repeating myself. But stealing time in terms of not showing up, being late, not telling somebody what it is that you're wanting or you're hoping or you're needing, leading somebody on, not being forthright, and also stealing the present moment. Like, how often am I wrapped up in my own thing, or I'm not being present with you? I'm stealing your time. I'm stealing my time, and I'm stealing your time.
Yeah. And we do this often, I think, in relationships, whether it's intimate relationships, whether it's friendships, whether it's, co-working spaces. We end up stealing time, or we end up stealing resources from people. And so what we really want to be careful of is that when we show up in an authentic way where we have our basic needs met and we don't need to take from others. So of course, non-stealing, when we talk about the yamas, is about not pickpocketing. It's about not going and taking stuff from somebody's house or stealing their jacket or stealing their things. But it's also about not stealing their right to be heard, or not stealing their time to be seen. And so always creating space for everyone's unique voice to rise up as well. Yeah.
Beautiful.
How are we doing?
We have 20 seconds.
Oh, sweet. Okay, we're good. So this gives us more time for the next one. All right, so the next one is Aparigraha, non-possessiveness.
Yeah, non-possessiveness or non-grasping. And this feels like an innate thing that we do as humans, is that we're grasping. We're grasping onto things. We're grasping onto ideas that we don't want to release, an idea of who we think we are, an idea of a person, grasping onto relationships, grasping onto substance, grasping onto so many different things that clinging.
Aparigraha is a huge one for me. I have it tattooed on my neck, so I'm grasping onto that. But aparigraha, in a big way, we are very attached to our stories. Like, we're very attached to the hats that we wear and the roles that we play. And sometimes those stories keep us from being in the present moment, or they keep us from having the deeper connections that we can have in our friendships or our relationships or in work partnerships. We get so attached to the drama of our past or to the forbearance of our future that we're already projecting what will happen or what has happened instead of being in the moment. And so
which is stealing time.
And
it's also
harmful.
Not truthful often, the stories that we tell. So they all kind of loop in.
And harmful in the end, yes. But yeah, Aparigraha is about finding that fluidity and that ease of life where, we still work hard. We still, put ourselves out there. We speak, we're seen, we work, and we are ambitious, but we're not so attached to the fruits of our labor. So we do things for the journey and the love of the movement, but we're not so attached to what the outcome is going to be. Yeah.
And being able to find some ease, like where are we holding resentment? Where are we not forgiving? Where are we holding on to so many, and again, the stories. One thing that Tara Brach says often is that we live in this if only mind. So we hold on to these ideas that something can change is another thing of like, if only I could lose some weight. If only he would do this, things would be better. If only this, and we live in this grasping onto thinking that we could fix or manage or change, and then things will be okay. So those are another story that we really get looped into.
And Aparigraha is, I think, one of the most difficult yamas in modern day society because we live in a very, desirous, greedy society where we want like the next best thing. So it's about being happy with what we have and letting go of the things that we don't have, but still working. We've gone 15 seconds over. It's the next one.
Brahmacharya.
Okay. So Brahmacharya, two different versions of this. 200 years ago, the British invaded India, and they kind of put on this sexual sublimation of energy kind of definition of Brahmacharya. But Brahmacharya is also just moderation of energy. So being very careful about the energy that we intake and that we export, that we output. And so it has very much to do with the people that you surround yourself with, the beliefs that you choose to have. It's everything, like everything that you bring into your energy field every day, and making sure that that is kind of lifting you up in a way.
How are you going to show up in the world? Are you bringing the good vibes? Are you bringing in the stories? Are you taking, again, this all goes back to the previous yamas. But yeah, what are you showing up? And the more and more that we actually learn, science is learning about the energy, that it's contagious, that, you know, my energy is, yeah, we're in training to each other all the time. So it's really vital that we are aware of how we show up in the world, because everyone that we love and everyone that we care about is being affected by it. So just being cautious and aware.
And a modern interpretation of that as well, which some of you might already know this, but is sexual sublimation of energy. And so this isn't to say don't have sex and that sex is bad, but Brahmacharya, yeah, sex is great, you know, just make sure that it's for a good cause. But Brahmacharya is, I didn't say
having
that.
sex for a good cause.
But Brahmacharya has a lot to do with the energy that we take in. So making sure that you're sharing your energy with people that are going to be symbiotic. You want your relationships to be symbiotic. So if you're giving out energy, you want to make sure you're also receiving it. So just being careful and picky about who you let close to you. Very close to you. Brahmacharya.
All right. That's it. We did it. 10-minute philosophy talk on the yamas.
Tune in for the 10-minute talk on the niyamas and see how long we go over on that.
Bada bing, bada bing. Ciao.